we're going to take time to get our pantries in order for this month. And you know, I'm not going to stress out and pull everything out of the pantry. What I'm going to do is to take it one shelf per week. And then that way, that gives me a smaller task. And by the end of the month, I will be finished cleaning out the pantry and making sure that it's nice and presentable.
One of our pillars deals with organization, particularly organization and storage. And of course, since at Ebony Ivy Thyme that we're typically in the kitchen, we're going to organize our pantry. And first, you want to be able to start by decluttering. Then you want to categorize the items, and you might even try zoning. But you know, because of the holidays, I found that I was really a little stressed, but my pantry really needed cleaning. And so I thought, hey, I think I'll do it in baby steps. Now that means that I'm going to take a shelf per week and get it done. And then that way the task doesn't seem so large. Now, of course, I could have done it a shelf per day, but because the schedule was crazy, a shelf per week worked. Now, the first thing to do is to make sure that you empty your pantry, or in this case, it's going to be empty the shelf. And you're going to remove all of the items from that shelf, because that's going to allow you to assess what you have, clean the shelves, identify those things that are expired, unused, and it may be there. You may even have some things that need to be donated. I've decided that what I'm going to need to do, I have several extras of each of the items that we're going to be putting on that top shelf. And what I decided to do was to put the extra items far toward the back and to put them in order as far as their best use dates, so that those that need to be used first are toward the front, and those that have an extended date, I can put those toward the back. Now, we also want to make sure that we leave things clean. So that's a good time to wipe down the containers that you're putting into your pantry, remove any crumbs or spills to make sure that you have a nice clean environment for your food. And then the effort comes to try to group and to categorize your items together. Now for me, I found that I was having trouble space-wise, because the containers that I had took up way too much space. I found that taller, slender containers worked much better. The nice thing about baby steps is the fact that we can start it, we can walk away from it, and we can come back to it. And actually, sometimes that's actually a good plan, because what it does is that it allows us to stand back, take a look, really evaluate what we're doing, and then go from there. And so that's exactly what I did. I thought, you know, I had something I needed to do, and I thought, well, let me go to that. I'm going to do a little cooking, and then we're going to come back to this shelf. We're putting together today a vegetarian minestrone soup. And so we're starting with one entire box of vegetable stock. And that's going to take the place for our oil. So there's going to be no oil whatsoever. Our salt that's going to be added, or at least not much anyway, into this soup. So we're starting with a 32-ounce box of stock. So let's get that in. And we're going to get that bubbling.
because we want that to be ready to go. So this is 1 box of vegetable stock. Now, if you find later in your tasting, once all the vegetables get in, that you need to add just a little bit more vegetable flavor, you're probably going to want a little bit more liquid. You may decide to add 2 boxes depending upon how many people you're serving. All of that's important. And I like my soup a little soupier, so I'll probably add about another half box of vegetable stock. But you'll see that as we're moving along. Anyway, all right, I decided to go ahead and put in a 2nd box, and the reason of the vegetable stock, and the reason for that is because I know the big guy's going to want that soupier soup rather than a stewy soup. So I'm going to put in just about all of this box. There we go, all of that box. So that's 2 boxes of vegetable stock. Next, I'm going to add in the trifecta of vegetables. I've got onions, carrots, and celery. I'm going to put those in as well. Put all those in. We want all of that to come up to a good boil. Now, for my minestrone soup, and this is, some people call it, a good minestrone soup is basically came from Italy. And what they do is that they take whatever vegetables are left over that need to be used, and they're placed into the soup. And so we're going to be using some potatoes that we diced. So those are in, and that's about 2 cups of potatoes. That's going to give it a very hearty taste, as well as we're going to need 2 cans, and these are 2 14.5 ounce cans. I'm going to add 2 of those of diced tomatoes. That's 1. And if you like less tomato, you can certainly only put in 1, but we like tomatoes, so because of that, I'm adding in 2 cans. Okay, there we go. There's our 2nd can. I'm also going to add in some tomato paste. Give our soup, I'm going to do it on the spurtle so you can see. I'm putting in, that's about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste that I'm going to add to our mix. Now this is going to need to really come up to a good hot boil. So whatever kind of beans you have that your family likes, and I would say it would be just about anything other than black beans. You don't usually put black beans into a minestrone soup, but you could have a mixture of brown and white beans or cannelli beans. You could mix them and have them in the soup. So here we've got, you can see how hearty this is already. And now we're going to start to add some flavoring. And I'm going to put in a heaping tablespoon or 2 of garlic, because that's the Italian way. You got to have that garlic. Okay. And if I taste it and I need more, then I can do that. I'm going to put in some of my house seasoning, which my house seasoning is a combination of pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, even though we have onions in there. But we're going to want to add in at least 2 heaping teaspoons of our house seasoning. The one thing that I'm going to add just a tiny pinch of, I just want a hint of it, is rosemary. Just a hint. Now, everyone doesn't like rosemary. I get it. You see, I've just got a little tiny bit on my hand, and that's because I promise you, you're not going to want a lot of rosemary, because you don't want that rosemary to take over your soup. And everyone doesn't like it, and so that's one of those tastes you just have to develop. So there's our soup all together. I'm going to add in some cayenne, just a little cayenne pepper, or you could use hot sauce if you like. And I think I have more control over the heat if I use cayenne pepper, just a little. 1, 2, 3. 3 shakes. It's not to be hot, it's to have good seasoning. Now you notice, no oils, no sugar, no excess salt. Now, as this starts to boil, then I'll be able to taste it and determine at that point if I need to add any vegetable bouillon base. I may want to add a little bit of that in. So I'm going to just give it a quick taste at this point. It tastes pretty good and not too much heat. So I'm going to turn it up a notch because I do.
Let me just say that when you start cleaning out your pantry, and I have a good sized pantry, and it had a lot of things in it, in addition to the fact that I decided to bring my computer downstairs and work on that, the next entertainment guide. And I've got glasses, I've got candy, I'm in the process of taking down Christmas, so I've got stacks of that. And as well as the ice maker decided to go out on the refrigerator. So the big guy has a steamer and a hair dryer. They're waiting for him when he comes back. And of course, I pulled heaven knows what out of the actual pantry. I still have a few of my containers that I need to put into the pantry. But on a good note, let me get on a good note. I did get the top shelf complete, and I'm real happy with that. Notice when I had those larger containers, all of this that you're looking at took up the entire shelf, and just switching out to a tall, slender container has made the difference. It doesn't even take up half the shelf space because this bar right here indicates the halfway mark, and it's not even halfway there. So I'm really happy about saving all of that space. Now, as we work our way down to shelf number 2, this was a task because this is where a lot of my spices stay, and mainly jarred types of things. So things like rice, things like the large containers of granulated garlic and onion. I still have a few of the small bottles of spices that are sitting here that I'm trying to work on, but I haven't gotten there yet, and I haven't decided if they're going to stay in the jars that they're in. You know, I ran across things that I know I put into this cabinet a couple of years ago, and I thought, oh, that's going to work out real well. Well, when I take all of those little jars out, then I'm starting to see real progress. But the good news is that I was able to get my pastas, because this is paprika. I need to put that over there. And kosher salt has to have a place to go. I need to find a place for that. I've got chicken rotisserie seasoning. I need to find a spot for that. And but I have a corner for my teas and lemonades, those kind of things, as well as hiding over there in the corner is my electric knife, and of course, pastas. You know, I love pasta, but there's all kinds of pastas. So depending upon what it is that you're preparing, you may have a different pasta. And as it turned out, I discovered that not only did I have these box pastas, but I have the ones I like, the little Amish bags of pasta, that I've got to find a way to corral those as well and get them into a better container because I want them to last. I thought when I was working on this pantry that it really was going to be a very simple task. But as I got into it, I found that my idea of what I wanted to do with the pantry changed along the way. And I ended up switching out containers. I decided to do something different with some of the spices, the excess spices that I have. And like right now, I'm making sure I have those spices that are labeled. I'm putting them into their correct container and just adding them into the pantry itself. So I'm going to bring you around with me. We're going to look in the pantry, and I'm actually working on the second row. So I have here, remember I told you I had such large containers at the top that they took up
all of the space. All of this that you see right here was spread out across the entire top. And so now I've actually got space to be able to put additional containers if I need to. And if not, I may even just leave that as breathing space. Now, on the second level, I started over here on the right. I started with drinks because I needed coffee. I needed it at the big guy's eye level. So when he comes into this pantry, he can automatically go find his coffee. I included coffee, tea, I have lemonade packets, all those things are right here on the side. Now, I had a little spot here that I could tuck in some pasta, but I've already decided that that's not going to be where the pasta goes. So these will probably come out, and there will be a little bit of breathing space there. Now see, that's what happens. So my short project ended up into a rather extensive project, even though I was doing it in baby steps and doing a shelf. I said you could do yours per week. I just decided to do mine per day. So first day, second day, and we'll see how it all turns out. You know, that box of spaghetti, in fact, it was 2 boxes, two 2-pound boxes of spaghetti. And rather than putting them in the box, I realized that I had a container that I could fit both boxes into. So that worked out very nicely. It's going to look nice on the shelf. So here's our spaghetti ready to go. In addition to that, I also have some other containers that I had for my pasta. I've got my white noodle pasta. I haven't labeled it yet because remember, if you're going to put your items into containers, be sure to label them. And I'll take you on that adventure as well, because I found something I really liked. Now, I have the orecchiette pasta, and Ms Denise loves Rubbermaid Brilliance. And I had never really gotten into Rubbermaid Brilliance, but let me tell you, I'm a soul girl because I love their containers. So now this is just elbow macaroni, so it will be labeled as well. So we're going to get the labeler out and get those labeled. And if I can find a container for my fettuccine, it's going to be in a container as well, rather than having to sit on top in the box. Well, this week, guys, I accomplished actually the top 2 shelves. So I'm really ahead of the game because remember, we were using baby steps and trying to only do 1 shelf per week. So now next week, we are going to be on to shelf number 3. And this is probably the toughest shelf of all of the shelves
to get straightened out, because that's where all the canned goods and fun stuff abide.
Shelf number 2 really was quite a challenge. And as you know, I had to pull everything off of that shelf. You'll see that I lined up our Joy Dean, my bread mixer. I placed that up on the top shelf. I've never been able to get an appliance in my pantry, so there it is. I'm so excited about that. And I actually have room behind it, but I didn't want to push it back too far because, you know, out of sight is out of mind. And so as you look at the second shelf, if you start over from the left, you're going to see our spices that we got labeled and into their containers. We see the larger containers of spices. I have that box that's sitting there that's actually a Bisquick box that I ended up moving because it was just in the way. It really was in the way. And I had room for my cheese grater to go in, and I was able to get the pasta all together, all of the pastas, as well as over to the right, I was able to corral the coffee and the tea and all the drinks. They were able to go in that spot. I am very pleased. And it's easy to get to everything and easy to see it. Now, one thing's for sure, that aprons have to be sorted as well. And I had to take away all of the holiday aprons except for those holidays that were upcoming. And so the Christmas, bye-bye, and of course, the Halloween needed to go as well. So all of those are going to be taken away. And I'm going to leave those things that are more neutral as well as springy.
We have accomplished so much this week. And the fun thing is that cleaning out this pantry is something that we should always do at the beginning of the year. That's one of the first things that you're going to put together. Now, I'm looking at my notes because I want to make sure that I go back over the things that we've talked about up to this point. Remember, when you are organizing your pantry, that you want to make sure that the first thing you do is to empty the pantry. Now, you either empty it completely, if that's your style, or you can do it in the little baby steps like I did and do one shelf per day. And when you do it that way, it's not so stressful and overwhelming, because if you have a really large pantry and you pull everything out of that pantry, your kitchen is a mess. And sometimes it's just hard and a little discouraging trying to see your progress, because that's one of the things that you really want to be able to do. Now, another thing besides emptying the pantry is that if you have solid shelves, you want to make sure that you clean all of those shelves very well. Now, I have to tell you, I love these particular shelves. They are the wire shelves that have nice spaces in between, because nothing stays on those shelves, even though I'll wipe them off occasionally. Now, but this is the best time to get your crumbs and any spills or any oozes that might have ended up on your shelf. And you might want to do that every now and then, every few months. Then you want to be able to sort and categorize. Now, I tried to do that using both containers, using also the little spice containers that we used over here. I did it in baskets as well. I have particular categories in each of these baskets. And you might have some canned goods. You might have baking supplies. You might have a place for your snacks, and a place for your grains, your pastas. I've got those all lined up here, as well as a place for your condiments, your dressings, and any oils that you might have. Now, this helps you to zone, and it certainly saves you time when you're looking for particular items out of your pantry. Now, my suggestion is, if you have a fairly slim pantry, that you're going to use clear, narrow containers, because they're not going to take up as much space as some of the larger, wider ones that you might find. And you know, we switch those. We switch those out. Now, so clear storage containers, labeled. Make sure that you label everything. Label you might, if you have room, you can label your categories, or you can label the actual container that the substance is in. Now, it's nice to have accessibility to everything, so you have everything at a reach. My shelves are pretty deep, so because of that, I have certain things that I have in the back, but they're tall enough that I can see them from the front. And here's the biggie. Be sure, as you use up certain items out of your category, that you jot down what's missing so that you can restock, and you want to make sure that you regularly review what you have in your pantry. I try to do that at least every quarter. Go through and really give it a good review so that I know what needs to be replaced, and check those dates, because that is most important. Now, if you follow those steps, you're going to have a well-organized pantry that you can certainly work with and work from. You notice I even took the time to organize the aprons. I took out all of those that were holiday-ish. None of the holidays that have passed, they're gone. So I got those holidays that are coming up. I got my bee kind. Over here I have my little Easter bunny. I have spring, and I have those kind of aprons that I know are going to be easily accessible, that I can just pick up and go with. So I'm so excited that you spent not just one day with me, but an entire week to be able to put this pantry together. We've had a great time. We have certainly accomplished a lot, and I look forward to seeing you again here in the kitchen of Ebony Ivy Thyme, because here we're working out our food systems, and we are certainly trying to do things that are going to save us some time and money. So I'll see you soon.